It's more physics than anything else, but we've got two projectors on either side of every curtain.
Oh, okay.
And when Aquatique actually told us that this was possible, we didn't believe them. That's why we went to France and said, no, we got to see this. So we went out there and they showed the image. I'm like, okay, now turn the other projector on. And then they said, no, it is on. But they said it in French, and then it was translated. And so I went around the other side. I'm like, the way it's a water droplet. It's not flat, so it's rounded. So you're actually able to project on both sides.
So there's not water coming down into it?
No, that is a single pane of water, so to speak, that's being projected on both sides. Just by way of physics, you're able to project on both sides and not get a sense of the other image.
Okay, more questions?
Yeah, and I noticed that you kind of really did a nice, like the fireworks are more punctuation than the main show. Like you really did a good job of making the movies the main focus. Was that what you were aiming for?
Absolutely. That's what this is all about. It's about 100 years of Universal. And you know, like I said before, all of the technical aspects of this show are only there to support the edit that we've created. Everything there is done to do just that. That's why, yeah, again, the fireworks take on more of a punctuation rather than a look at fireworks the entire time, you know, or look at the fountains the entire time. It really is a kind of all-in scenario, but at the same time, it's all about those edit and those memories and those great film clips. And there was already great content to work with. You know, Universal's library is amazing. So to be able to play with all of those clips and kind of arrange them in a way that did provide some kind of a narration bed throughout the show. You know, as you're watching it, as we kind of arrange the bits, of course it opens with kind of a nice, you know, kind of draw you in moment with Morgan Freeman's narration and the film strips that fly by. And then there's an all-in moment of everything Universal's kind of done. And we're kind of calling 100 years, 100 seconds. That's what precedes that film strip montage. And then in every film you meet the hero. For every hero there has to be a villain. Every hero goes through lighthearted moments. That's the laughter section. But then while they're having a good time, how many films have you seen where then the bottom drops out and something really horrific happens? That's good versus evil. And at the end of that montage, the way the music is we arranged the music was, I didn't want you to know who won. Just like every film, it's when both the villain and the hero go off the cliff, and you're watching the cliff, and you're waiting for that hand to come up and the hero to rise. That leads us into triumph and getting the girl, and then of course into our finale. We're kind of in an all-in moment at that point. So that was how we kind of layered everything together and how we kind of wanted everything to act. And I feel we achieved that. I think this is like I said before, this is a love letter to the Universal brand. It's something I'm very passionate about. I've been here 16 years. My entire adult life I've worked for this company. And there's a lot of heart and emotion that goes into this. And there's already great heart and emotion to work with. So those two things combined, you can't go wrong in that respect. And again, everything to be able to work with. Jaws and Back to the Future and E.T. and all these amazing films, to be able to play with those and kind of fashion something that a park guest who has spent an entire day here experiencing all kinds of things, that they can end their day with something that's all-encompassing. That's what we wanted, and I think we've achieved that.
But at the same time, you've got movies in here that you wouldn't expect to see in a theme park. I mean, Harvey Milk, Brokeback Mountain, Frost Nixon, Schindler's List.
Yes.
I mean, you know,
Well, and by nature that those films exist, they have to go into this. They you know, you have all of those beats, all of those you've got to haves. Again, the Back to the Future's, E.T.'s, Fast and the Furious, all of those things, they're huge box office that become cult legends that have lived longer than the time they were popular, you know, are still popular today. You have to pay homage to the other things that people watch maybe once and have a moment with. They have an experience that is a singular moment that it may not resonate past, but then when they see it again, it's like, oh my gosh, I forgot how great that movie was. That's important. That's something that went into this. I'm a film fan. That was day one going into this. And everybody that's worked on this that had a close relationship with the creative, we're all film fans. We're fans of this brand. And again, to play with this and be able to create something that pays homage to it is a dream come true.
Okay, sorry, I just realized that most of you are taking videos, so I think that lab is so much prettier. So let's have it on the other side.
It's okay. Any other questions?
Anyone else?
I heard Back to the Future and E.T. What other scores were in?
Okay, yeah, this is fun. Everything started with the music. That was the first week, was figuring out what the score was, and then I wrote all the narration once I knew what our beats were. So you've got E.T., a couple of movements. It's not all just one track. We've listened to the soundtracks and kind of combined some things together to really kind of create our moments and our moods. But E.T., Back to the Future, Gladiator is featured during the Good versus Evil section. And then there are two other tracks that were put in because I felt they were an emotional value. They may not have been a well-known Universal film, but definitely the music. You've got James Horner with the Casper soundtrack. That's how the show opens. That score is gorgeous. And I listened to the score before I knew it was in that movie. I hadn't realized it. It was on my iTunes, and I was like, oh, this is a gorgeous piece. Oh, it's a Universal film. Oh, it's Casper. Cool. All right, great. We're putting that in the opening. And then right after that, 100 Years, 100 Seconds is a film that it was merely selfish on my part. It's The Last Starfighter by Craig Safin. It is an awesome piece of music, and it was a Universal title. So I was like, I have to put this in because that's a score that I've always loved since that movie came out. And again, not a film you'd know, not a score that was well known, but that was okay because I really wanted the clips to shine there. Let that music carry the emotion and not the film that it was based on, you know. What else am I missing? Prelude from Psycho. Cape Fear opens the horror section, then leads into Prelude from Psycho. There's a little bit of a Jaws nod there in the middle with the fin fountain. And then we end with, we kind of roll back into Cape Fear after it's done. Laughter incorporates many tracks from Liar Liar. It's a nice, bouncy, fun track. And again, that's all I was looking for that section, was something that was light, upbeat, had kind of a comedic feel, almost vaudeville. Then we go into Gladiator for Good versus Evil. What's next? Oh, Triumph is Dragonheart. Amazing piece. It's been used in trailers for years. It had the emotional tone. It kind of begins almost sad, and then, you know, right near the beginning, it becomes very triumphant, and that was something that really resonated with me, with that track. And then that then bleeds into Apollo 13, and then we come into E.T. right at the very end, and that was the first piece of music I put in. This show had to end with E.T. That you cannot get more grand than John Williams, so that was a no-brainer for the end of the show. And also that film being very close to my heart, it was a no-brainer. So. Yeah, there's an overly long explanation of the tracks in the show.
Anyone else?
You say the show obviously is a tribute to a century of Universal filmmaking. What about attractions here at Universal Studios? A lot of Back to the Future, a lot of Jaws. Did you have that in mind when selecting the films? Sure.
I mean, Universal was on the brain. I mean, again, you cannot go into this edit without those classic films in it. If they weren't in it, I would probably get dragged and beaten across. You know, they had to be, and then I wanted them to be in. Those are the films that have stood the test of time. So yeah, of course, that absolutely went into it. But being here for 16 years, seeing those attractions when they were here, yeah, they resonated. So yeah, that absolutely went into it. What else?
Was it your idea to have the films that haven't been released yet in there, or the studio?
It was both. We kind of came to the meeting wanting that. Obviously, we want this show to kind of evolve a bit as new films come out that resonate with guests and audiences. This is a perfect medium to be able to do that with. So yeah, that was a mutual want.
And go ahead.
How would you succinctly describe the show? Is it Lagoon Show? Is that the easiest way to call it? I mean, obviously, Fountain Show is not accurate.
Yeah, no. This is a Lagoon Show. It's a tribute. Yeah, this is our Lagoon Show. It exists. I mean, it's been here since day one. So to be able to use it, yeah, this is a brand new Lagoon Show. It's a cinematic spectacular. And with music, fountains go away. Who else?
Is the show expected to go on past December, like in the next year?
Yeah, we haven't really talked about that, about the length. I don't see why it wouldn't. Obviously, this year is incredibly important because this is the 100th anniversary. But past that, we're kind of going to see what happens. Yeah.
And then you kind of work worked in, like you mentioned with Jaws, the fountains, and I noticed like in Psycho when you know the knife and the red fountain. So is there a lot of those little touches where you kind of like couple the water, like a little thing that you have to kind of really be looking to notice?
Yeah, I would say, you know, 95% of the time, those fountains are linked to the music. I wanted them to be a visual companion to what you're hearing in the track, knowing that the music was going to be a bed. There's tons of audio stems on top. I wanted something visual that your eye could kind of attach to while you're watching the screens. But yeah, of course, we're going to pick out those moments. Awesome tribute to Jaws. You know, we're going to create a fin. You have the water zip by like it's going through the water. And those were just fun little things we kind of discovered along the way as we were kind of creating what the fountain schematic was going to be. But yeah, where we could, we definitely did little hints and little almost Easter eggs in the fountains to kind of help the show along.
Any last questions before we go?
When you watch it now that it's done, what do you feel?
Elated. I feel great. When we did there was a piece of concept art that had I think it was released. It was the moon, the ET moon with the bike and all the blue fountains across the entire lagoon. Every time I watch the show and that moment happens, I think of the concept art and I'm like, yes. I mean, the concept art, and that's any designer's dream, is when the concept art even halfway resembles what you see out in play. And for that moment and most of the moments in the show, yeah, we achieved what we set out to do. Anybody else?
All right. What else? No?
Yeah, it was a pleasure. It was thanks for the question. Great questions, and I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it. This is like I said, it's a love letter. It's been an awesome time.
What are you working on next?
I jump right back into Halloween Horror Nights next, and there's still we're still doing some things to this puppy here, and but yeah, Halloween is my next focus. The team's already been working on the event, but I'm kind of jumping in to figure out, okay, where'd we land, that kind of thing.
All right, so let's find our friends with the blue shirts so we